Hello, everybody. We're beginning this conversation going live slightly before I was ready for it, so I've been a little bit taken by surprise, but still here. Didn't run away. Welcome, everybody. This is Lizzie and Justin from Thirdspace, and we are here for another week of our Turning Towards Life conversation, which is such a relief for me, Lizzie, to be in this conversation with you this morning. Really, really a relief and a joy. And I want to say welcome to you, Lizzie, for always showing up week after week after week. And I want to say hello to everyone who's with us in all the many forms, podcasts and live streams and Facebook and YouTube and our Turning Towards Life website and all of those different places. And also say, we're a day later. I think this is the only time in the history in the almost 5 years of this where we have tumbled over from a Sunday to a Monday. We didn't manage to do this yesterday, mostly because we were teaching and leading our professional coaching course, the Thirdspace professional coaching course, which is a huge, emotional, energetic, creative endeavor, and ended up taking every ounce of our capacity over the weekend. But I think we've both had a good night's sleep, and here we are on a Monday, ready to talk about this source, Lizzie, which you wrote, and I'm always in wonder at having a chance to read and then talk with you about something that comes from you. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. And everybody, if you would like to find the source at any time, you can go to turningtowards.life, where it will be posted. And we also post it on a Friday before the normal Sunday broadcast of this on Facebook. So in the Facebook group, if you want to find it there. And that goes for every other source that we have as well. Just in this weekend, I found myself searching through our archive for things because I wanted to know something about something that we had said, and reminded me just how much there is there on turningtowards.life that we can search through and listen to and have as a big bank of things. I'm really grateful for everything that's gone before now and that we have it all there. It's miraculous to me. So I want to dedicate this poem to the people who are on our current PCC, which is in September 2022, because I kind of wrote this for all of us as we sit and reflect on what it means to be in relationship with one another through sitting together, being in conversation. And of course, in order to be able to do that, we have to find a way of being in our bodies that's open and contactful, and bodies in relationship like this feels like one of the pieces that's the heart of our work. So anyway, I wrote this because we were in that and we were talking about it. So here we go. I'm going to read. So it's called The Body in Relationship. You sit before me, body open, your eyes meet mine. My deepest wish to make contact, to come to intimately know you. And as I reach for you, I see that I must reach for me first, that without me, I can't truly be with you. First, it has to start here, contact with this body I have, teeming with senses, feeling, and wisdom. And as I make contact here, suddenly I'm confident, settled, ready to be with you. And to stay here, because my body is home and I can welcome you. And when we do this for each other, we dance between the houses, living in community, always welcome at each other's table. We share tea and life, and all the depths and shallows are made normal, just like our tea.
Thank you, Lizzie. So I'm going to read this too, also for all of us, and also with this excellent group of people who we're learning with on our professional coaching course this year too. It's for all of those different circles. But also this morning, I'm also reading it for me. The body in relationship. You sit before me, body open. Your eyes meet mine. my deepest wish to make contact, to come to intimately know you. And as I reach for you, I see that I must reach for me first, that without me, I can't truly be with you. First, it has to start here. Contact with this body I have, teeming with senses, feeling, and wisdom. And as I make contact here, suddenly I'm confident, settled, ready to be with you and stay here because my body is home and I can welcome you. And when we do this for each other, we dance between the houses, living in community, always welcome at each other's table. We share tea and life, and all the depths and shallows are made normal, just like our tea.
Thank you, Justin. As you're reading that, Justin, I can feel the kind of, like it takes me a deep breath to feel into also the kind of, what is it, like the tenderness or the awkwardness of contact. You know, to really be with someone and to have this kind of intimacy of being together and really being in each other's worlds and having honest conversations. There's part of it that's just completely terrifying. I can find the part of me that's really terrified of contact. And I can also find the part of me that longs for it at the same time. And maybe it's the longing that makes it terrifying. But that what I know is that when I can be with me, it opens up a whole world of being able to be with you. Like if I didn't make contact with myself, I could just avoid you forever. It's like I feel a bit grapply with the language, but if I can be with myself and my parts and all the things about me, just a little bit even, it makes it possible to be with yours. So that as I get gentle with myself, I can get gentle with you. As I'm harsh with myself, I'm probably going to be harsh with you. So I feel like I can see in relationship all the ways that I'm with myself are so clearly related to how I'm able to be with you. I think that's where this poem comes from, is firstly wanting to talk about something so delicate and important to all human beings, and yet something we've all find really hard. But secondly, wanting to find language more than this. I mean, this poem is like a good start at something, but it points to a realm that feels so important to be able to find language for. And I find it really difficult to find all the language. And yet it feels like the language that's needed in order for us to be really conscious of the way that we're in contact with each other and to be able to do that.
I was really struck by something that you just said. I'm not going to be able to quote you exactly back to you, Lizzie, but the sense that this being together, being contactful with one another and really receiving one another is both most ordinary and most difficult in many ways for us humans, which is why we have to talk about it, why to have this conversation at all. And it seems absolutely right to me, this way that you say it, that I can feel it now, just being here with you, that my capacity to really be in contact with you, to receive you, also to be generous towards you, to be open to what you have to say, is built upon a foundation of my being here also with myself and attentive to myself, noticing everything about being a human. And all the everything you say for me anyway, so excellently at the end, where you say the depths and the shallows are normal, just like our tea. And it's really such a thing to see that. I was wondering about whether this is difficult for dogs or cats or fish, or, and I can never know. But I have a suspicion that it's not difficult for them in a way that it might be difficult for us. And I can't really know. But what I could see can make this really, really difficult for us is to see that we are internally, we are a relationship. We're not a thing. So there is such a phenomenon as my relationship with myself, or the relationship between parts of me that's going on here with me all the time, whilst also all of that is in relationship with you. And until we start to attend to that, until we start to notice, oh, there's a relationship here. I am relationship in every dimension. And there's a relationship going on here. And just to read you back, in order to come to intimately know you as I reach for you, I have to reach for myself first. It has to start here with the kind of contact and relationship I have here that makes it possible for me to be in the depth, the ordinariness of the depths and the shallows, to make it ordinary. And I'm saying all of that because suddenly what came to me as you were talking were memories of the so many places where, as I grew up towards adulthood, I learnt that at any time something might come that would be very, very, very painful to hear. A teacher, or a family member, or someone in authority, or whatever it was. And one of the ways for me to deal with that, I realized, was to develop an internal relationship with myself, which makes lots and lots of sense, which is to not really feel what's going on with me. And then if I don't really feel what's going on with me, then when something really difficult happens, I don't have to feel that so much. But the consequence of that is that from that place of being in the kind of internal relationship of being far away from myself, because it keeps me really safe, like it makes lots of sense to do that. It's really, really, really hard for me to be here with you and to be open and contactful with whatever it is you have to say, whether it's of whatever scale it is. And I've been learning that over recent years. I've been learning that I can be with what's here with my own body. I really can. And it's taken lots of practice to do that. And the more I learn it, and it's going to be an endless path, and I won't be done by the time this body is no longer here, I'm sure, but the more I'm able to be here with me, and also to cultivate in me a kind of loving welcome for whatever is here with me, profoundly, profoundly shifts my growing capacity to be here with you, with whatever is between us and with whatever is in you.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm just saying what you've already said, but I'm saying it from this place of also sort of wonder that we can really do this. We can learn how to do this, how to settle into what's here, so that we can be with the other.
Gosh, it's so much in what you say, Justin, and what arises for me in it is, however much our internal world kind of takes us away from what's happening in order for us to not feel or whatever, the body is always there. The body is always present. It's physically present to everything that's happened in our lives, and is a kind of constant. Like it's being here is a constant. Like we can with our consciousness, like go away somewhere, we can forget, we can, all kinds of things can happen, but the body is always there. And what's really hitting me at this moment is that as we get more comfortable with our bodies, as we can be in our bodies, and for many of us, that's a huge, big healing journey. it's like it can be present to and be witness to and be the light into which any piece of conflict or difficulty can be welcomed. So I'm suddenly feeling the gift of our bodies as being, having the possibility at the very least of being a place that can hold what arises and enable us. They can be enablers. Our bodies can be enablers for us to be with what's here. And of course, there's such a journey to that, as you say, like my body and its presence being that kind of light, that things can be here and I can be with them, like conflict, for example, or people separating from each other, or me separating from someone. Like those kind of, for me, the biggest difficulties in my life are the ones that include separation and or kind of a fracture. And so that's all stored somewhere in my body. All of the difficult things that have happened to me, all of the stories of my life that have unfolded and been hurtful and harmful and difficult. Of course, they all belong in my body. And that's a huge, big, ongoing, forever project. And there is also such thing as presence. There's also such thing as essentialness, my essential Lizziness, that is inherently linked and part of my body, that has the capacity to be with what's here. And I know that one of the things I find so helpful is being conscious of my physical body and also being conscious of my physical things that happen, like my breath and my blinking and what it's like to have nostrils and how it feels for a chair to hold me and how it feels for my back to be pushed up against here and for the light to be coming through. Like there's all these little tiny and massive invitations to presence that arrive through my body that are so supportive of my being with myself and being with you. And so when there's a huge, big feeling or terror or shakiness or self-doubt or some kind of event that shakes me to the bones, there's all kinds of ways that I go away from myself to be able to cope. But the returning to the consciousness that I have a body and I have breath is so supportive of my being with those things, so that I can learn from them and I can be present to them and I can receive them and I can process them, and that I can then know how to be with those things in other people as well. And I'm feeling so grateful in this moment for having a body, because it does enable me to be a person who can relate. If I relate to it in the right way, if I relate to it in a different way, it might be the thing that prevents me from being in contact with you. But my strong wish and intention is to have my body be something that enables me to have access to the conversation with you, to the relationship with you, to being with the difficulty, to staying here, even when it feels like I want to run. And I think that's one of my big patterns is I just want to run. I want to get out of here. I want to go and do something ordinary. I don't want to do this anymore. It's too difficult. The suffering is too great. I want to go. And sometimes I really honor that part of me. And so it knows it's okay. But many times I feel like I need to be in conversation with that part that wants to run and reassure that part and say, actually, we have capacity. We're okay. I understand you want to run. I really get it. And look, here's my thighs. Here's my hands. Here's my breath. Here's my eyes. We can be here. And even as I speak, I feel really like just having the words for this in this moment is helping me to recognize that that's possible, that I can stay, and it's okay. I feel like I'm reassuring myself in the speaking of it and showing myself that this is possible, and that's what I have done. Many times I've run and many times I've stayed. But the possibility of staying when I want to stay and when it's healthy to stay and when it matters to stay because something's really important and my staying counts. I feel really glad that I have some way of relating to myself that allows that possibility to be true.
I think it's so important to say what you just said about the choice that we have to stay or not stay is genuinely a choice. And the question here is, can I stay when it matters to stay? When it matters to me, when it matters to you, when it matters to us, when it matters to something that's of I'm committed to, someone that I'm committed to. I was very affected in a good way by a moment ago when you were talking about the parts of you that want to run and how you found to remind yourself, have your body remind you and remind those parts that are frightened or protective or whatever, that there's safety here. And you said, here are my thighs and here are my hands. And for me, when you said, here are my thighs, was kind of revelatory, because when there's the parts of me that get afraid or protective or any of the things that can happen that could have me want to tune out or run, whichever it is, there are places in my body that I experience that, but never in my thighs. You know, I get it in my chest or in my belly, or so it was very sweet and also very powerful to be able to go to imagine myself saying to those parts of me, look, there's more of me here. Look, my thighs aren't involved in this.
Yeah.
They're still here. And that seems really, really right to me, or chimes with my own experience, that our bodies, with their physicality and their fleshiness and their uprightness and their groundedness and the weight of our bodies and the movement of our bodies and everything that it is to have a body and to be embodied, can be such a great grounds for refinding safety for the parts of us that don't feel safe, feel vulnerable when we're in a relationship, and would rather that we got out to keep ourselves safe rather than stay here. And you made this connection between our bodies and our, the essential something that we are, that isn't our personalities and isn't a part, but is something more true. And we've all, whatever kind of body we have and whatever experiences our bodies have had, we've been with these, in these, of these bodies all the way through our physical lives on this planet from the moment we arrived. It's an inescapable, like constant. It's sort of the one constant, and everything, and our bodies change, but our bodies are still here. And made me think about how that there are paths we can walk that develop this. And I was thinking about what they are for me. I was reading something this week, Lizzie, about sort of faddish body practices, and they were writing about yoga and how yoga can easily be turned into something. Do yoga because it will make you look beautiful, or do yoga because it will make you strong, or do yoga because it will make you look cool, or do yoga because it's what everyone else is doing, whatever. But I know that yoga for many people is one of these practices exactly like we're talking about, which is it gets us reacquainted with the here-ness of our bodies.
Yeah.
And for me, it's been swimming more than anything else. It's been, as you'll know, and I've spoken about here before, it's been finding that if I go and swim in something wild and in the winter something cold, the here-ness of my body, the safety of my body gets reawakened, and all the parts of me that are afraid and want to run and long to be in intimate contact with you, but also want to not, because it's, who knows what might happen and all of that. My body gets sort of reestablished as the ground of safety. And I'm so glad I found that swimming.
Yeah.
So it's been radically transformative in my capacity to meet life, because it helps me have a body that can do all the things that you were saying.
Mm-hmm. So sweet, Justin, as you say that, I'm realizing all of the different things I've done bodily wise in my life, and realizing that my coaching practice, I think, is the biggest body practice I've ever undertaken and stuck to. I feel really like in this moment kind of taken aback with, there's something about having the coaching practice that I have and being with people the way that I am face to face, where it's like they are so important to me that I've been willing to stay in things that I would, if there wasn't a person there, I would run. So I feel like humans have been my greatest teacher of this body practice of staying with what's difficult. And somehow that body practice of being with other human beings enables me in my darkest times to be with myself. So I feel like I'm just seeing, this poem is like it starts here, but it also starts there. Like I'm just seeing that now. It's like one of those infinity symbols where I'm not sure which comes first. But there's something about the kind of relationships I've been so lucky to have that are ones that involve difficulty and honesty and shame and crisis and grief and all of the themes that we could imagine about human life over these years has turned my body into a different body. I can feel it in this moment of, if I could attribute it to a principle something, as to be in contact in this way is the thing that has shifted my body to a settled body, because I know what it's in service of, and it's in service of deepening, healing, retelling our story of what it is to be human. And it's difficult. It's really difficult. And so, I'm thinking of a particularly hard yoga practice or something where there's a lot of contrast because of the way that you could push your boundaries and see who you become when you do that. I feel like over the years, that's what's happened to me, is that my body has had to stay. It's had to stay because it's had to be with, because it wants to, the suffering of myself and others, whether it's in a group or in a relationship like this, Justin, was just two people present. I feel like the door is always there and it's always easy for me to open it. And sometimes I know that when things get difficult, I go to the loo for a while because I kind of have to run a bit. But I do come back in the room again. I remember early on, Justin, teaching with you in somewhere in London and going and sitting in the loo and thinking, shall I just go? Shall I just run? Shall I just leave? I'm in the loo. No one would know for about half an hour. So by the time half an hour came, I'd be long gone. I know exactly how to get out of here and get on a train or whatever. So it's like this little kind of holding pen of wondering what I needed to do. And of course, I came back in the room again. And that happens to me sometimes where I have to honor the running part a little bit, go to the loo for a while. I stay there and take care of myself. But because there's been things that have mattered, like humans, mainly humans, sometimes animals, I feel like I've become a body who can stay and wants to stay and knows that, because also the more I stay, the more I know that in the staying, that's the best thing I could have done. And it also strikes me that the opposite is so true too, that this kind of understanding allows me to leave when it's the thing to do to leave. and to say no when the thing to do is to say no, they're not separate from one another somehow. So it's not really about staying and leaving. It's about being able to tolerate whatever the decision is that I'm making, whether it's to stay or to leave, and for my body to be a body that can be present to and okay with what's here.
I'm smiling very deeply because this is something for me, but also something in something which you just said, which is also clearly for the many people who listen to this along with us, who are coaches or who are learning coaching, maybe with us or with other people, as well as all of us, in our lives, which is that we can practice. One place to practice this is with one another. You said that for you, the practice of coaching has been a way to learn to stay, and I was feeling into that. And yes, it has been for me too, but naming it that way, for me as someone where having these kinds of conversations is central to my life in so many ways, it's actually a real gift. I hadn't thought about it this way maybe for a long time, maybe ever, which is to say this is the practice. I've also got swimming in cold water, but the other place I've got is practicing staying right here, reaching for me so I can truly be with you, and reaching for you, all the things that you say and what you wrote. That's the place to practice. And when we know it's a place to practice, it also gives us permission for all the times when I sit with someone and somehow I can't find that. Instead of going, well, I should be able to do this every single time, to be able to go, okay, this is a practice. So then I can continue to practice right in the moment, or I can find there was part of me that needed to run. Well, whatever it is, it sort of legitimizes and invites the possibility that every encounter with one another can be a chance to practice our staying in contact. And for those of us who have work that is about being open and available, or a deep commitment somewhere in our lives to being open and available and contactful and receptive and truthful, and to see that that's the practice too. It's not like practice somewhere else and then be perfect here. It's practice here and keep on finding ways to make ourselves more and more and more available, which is both very, very beautiful and lifelong and very hard. And sometimes makes me want to go and lie down and not speak to anyone ever again. And at other times, it feels like the only thing that there is to do as a human is to meet one another. So I'm noticing that that's something that we are doing week in, week out here, just you and I, and other people are doing alongside us. And I also remembered that anyone who's with us, and we could go and search it out on our Turning Towards Life.life website. Years ago now in this project, we read a poem by William Stafford, which has a line in it which goes something along the lines of, it's important that our yeses are yeses and our nos are nos. And all of that you were just saying, that when we find this, it allows us to really be the ones who make those decisions rather than find ourselves made by them, or somehow habitually only thrown into the habit that we have about it. And that, boy, does that matter for our being together. So I'm really glad you brought that in. Thank you.
My goodness. Thank you, Justin. This has been a very, very opening half an hour for me to find language for these things that feel so implicit, and yet they need to be languaged for me. So thank you for being here as always, and thank you to everybody who's listening. And if all goes to plan, we'll be back on Sunday instead of Monday next week. And just to say thank you for being with us. Thank you, Justin, for being here and always being the body who can welcome whatever source we have that I bring. And we'll see you next week.
See you then.